I'm Mike Wolf, and this is a quick introduction to the new shape animation that has been added to the db&w Spline Toolkit in October 2019. So to show you how this works, I'm going to start from scratch. First thing we do is add a new spline, and then go into the spline editor, and just start drawing 3 knots. I'll turn off edit and append because I'm done with editing this, and so far it behaves the way it used to before. The easiest way to start with spline animation is to turn spline animation to auto. That means that the progress envelope that drives the shape animation is going to be automatically updated by the spline edit tool. Now, a shape is essentially something like a morph or a pose. Essentially, it's a state of the whole spline, all the positions of all the points. And you can just turn on shape animation if you go to the right-click menu and add shape animation. It allows you to name your first shape. Just leave it at default. And you can see that all the points have changed their label to SH, which basically means that now they're driven by the shape animation. And the spline itself is also green, which indicates that it's currently on a specific shape. So I'm just going to move to a different frame, right-click, append shape. I can enter a new name as well. And I have a second shape in my list here. If I just move the points now to somewhere completely else, maybe smooth them or turn them into linear. And now scrub through the frames, you will see that it goes from the first shape at frame 0 to the second shape at frame 30. Also on the top left, you have an indication of which shape you're currently on. And if you open up the dope sheet, you will see the keyframes for the progress envelope, which is this, that's currently driving the shape animation through these shapes. So at 0%, it's going to use the first shape. At 100%, it's going to show the second shape. And if I go to frame 60, append another shape, and move the points elsewhere, you will see that I now have 3 keyframes in my envelope. One at 0, one at 100, and one at 200%, and so on. So this is essentially how shape animation works. If we go to the Spline Edit Tool panel, you will notice that you have the 3 shapes in here as well. And you can rename them if you want to. Please note that the name is not really used internally. This is just for you to remember what the specific shape is meant to be. If you want to just edit one of the shapes in the list without turning off the progress envelope, what you can do is either just double click here. That will turn solo onto the another shape in this case, and you can just edit it just like you can before. Double click again, solo is off, and the envelope takes control of the shapes again. You also have the option of turning from absolute to relative mode. Relative mode is currently not compatible with the automatic shape animation. And what this essentially does is the progress percentage is going to be in relation to the amount of shapes in here. So 0% is always the first shape, 100% is always the last shape in the list, regardless of how many shapes there are. To navigate in your shape animation, you can jump to the previous key or to the next key in the progress envelope. You also have that functionality in the right-click menu. And you can also just remove a shape, which also, if automatic is on, removes the shape from the envelope and also shifts the envelope so that in this case the second key is now 100% because that corresponds to the second shape in the list. You can also move the individual shapes up and down in the list, and that also modifies the envelope if shape animation is set to automatic. And yeah, and of course clear the whole shape animation by using remove shape animation. Also, one thing that's possible is for each of these control points, you can override the animation. So if you want to, for example, say, I want the point on the left to not be driven by shape animation, you can right click on it, say turn it to animate. And now it's not moving at all, not driven by shape animation. It's got the small A underneath it, which basically designates it as being animated. And you can just animate that manually, just like you can before with any manually animated point. Or you can go to one of them and say, I want this one to actually follow an item. I'm going to use the light here. So now we have one point that's following the light, one point that's animated by a direct spline animation, and everything else is controlled by the shapes. So you can mix and match any way you want to. Also, one thing to note is the shape position, the positions of the points controlled by shape animation can only be changed if you're actually on the keyframe for a specific shape. So right now I'm between two keyframes here. We're not exactly on a shape, and as you see, I can't really move this point. But if I go to frame 60, which is where shape 1 kicks in, I can now actually change the position at that shape. Or if you're in solo mode, you can do it on any frame. So yeah, that's a quick overview of how shape animation works. Please be aware that this is still a preview release, so if you're watching this later, it could be that some of the menu items changed or some of the concepts changed, but in general, this is how shape animation works, and we hope you like it. Bye bye for now.